Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and today we got a very special guest. Her name is Lori Oliver, and Lori is part of a company that is the Inactive Company, a sleep performance brand rooted in scientific research. And Lori works with Jill McRae, who was originally scheduled to do this podcast, and it's scrambled my brain just a little bit. But they have worked together and developed some simple, actionable strategies for sustainable sleep health. And as you know, health is one of the primary pillars. Sleep is one of the primary pillars of health. And Lori, let me stop talking and bring you in, and welcome to the show. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Joe. It's great to be on.
And, I always like to start the show with a new guest and kind of figure out, how did you come to this space? Not everybody finds themselves running a company that's involved with sleep practices. In fact, probably not a lot of people at all. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey that brought you to all this?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I spent 25 plus years in a variety of a career of corporate consulting and entrepreneurial roles. I kind of did the whole work mother thing for a long time. But I worked in different companies, not only in Los Angeles, but also in Atlanta, Georgia, where we're currently based. Worked in New York, even though I was based in Atlanta, traveled to New York for a New York-based company and raised 3 children along with my husband of 33 years. And I was always exhausted. I was the insomniac, and I'm of the age and generation of we'll sleep when we're dead.
Right.
So, it was, I just
right there with you. Yeah.
It came with the territory, right? Like, I was like, all right, well, I'm hard charging. I'm, high climbing professional. I was at a senior level on the executive leadership team of a company based in Atlanta called Spanx that you may or may not have heard of.
Sure.
The founder, Sarah Blakely, is one of the youngest self-made billionaires. So it wasn't like I could show up at 8 a.m. and be exhausted, but that's kind of how I felt. So I was really tired of faking my way through a work day, and trying to present myself as not being exhausted when I actually was. Fortunately for me, Jill McRae, my co-founder, was also on the leadership team at Spanx, and we had been friends and had, commiserated over our shared exhaustion. Between the two of us.
Cups of coffee, right?
Yeah, with our separate families, we drank a lot of coffee, but
Sure.
we also talked, we had 7 kids. I have 3, she has 4. And so we talked a lot about the overseas trips we were making and how we were going to survive them and then get back home and, get the kids to all the activities and help manage schoolwork and those kinds of things. So we just related over strategies for how we could get better sleep or just survive as tired moms working.
Nice. So this is very organic in its origin. You guys were just trying to figure out a personal problem.
100%. And, what better way to start a company than to come from a problem you personally experienced?
Absolutely.
What we found out when we dug into it was a lot of people share it's really an epidemic. Insomnia in itself is epidemic proportions, pre-COVID, post-COVID, you name it. So 60 million Americans suffer from sleep disorders and don't get the required 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And once we started digging into the science around sleep, it was really amazing to find out about how sleep really could be, with some science, hacked, if you will, without prescription drugs, and without necessarily super expensive mattresses and things like that. But it could be behaviorally relearned and improved. And people could see significant improvement in their health as well.
So you've opened up a bunch of doors here that I want to start exploring. So I've done a couple of episodes just specifically on sleep and just really its importance. Um, as you said, insomnia is really an epidemic, and the consequences are pretty dramatic. You want to get into a little bit about some of the problems that people face when they're not getting enough sleep. I mean, even things so like maybe obscure as, your brain has a system that cleans itself at night, that if it doesn't get into a deep REM sleep, it doesn't do it.
That's exactly
And
right. That's
all of a sudden,
and it clearly sleep, you're exactly right. And sleep really affects every single system in your body. And people think that they're just laying there so it can't be productive, but it is cleansing your entire brain while you sleep, which stabilizes your mood. It consolidates memories. It helps you learn. It helps you make better decisions. It really is regulating your brain while you sleep. It also every one of your other systems. Your digestive system is working. You are regenerating muscles while you sleep. Your body is recovering while you sleep. So everything is literally going through a cleansing and recovery and rejuvenation process just while you're sleeping.
yeah, it's like your body has two shifts. When it's awake, it functions on a prefrontal cortex level where you're telling your body what to do, and it's doing the best it can. But when you're sleeping, you're not thinking about anything. Well, you're dreaming, whatever, if you are really sleeping, but your body goes into automatic mode and really just starts reorganizing, putting itself back together. Autophagy takes place where your body clears out sick and dying cells, and your telomeres are affected, which is really the end of the genetic code that says you're going to live longer or you're going to live less long. And all of these things, like you said, your digestive system. I'm certain diet probably has something to do with this, and when you eat and what you're eating when you eat it, and so there really could be it would be difficult for there to be a more important pillar of health than sleep. We talk about diet, exercise, motion, stress, but sleep is right there in that, top five.
You could argue it is the foundation of health. I mean, it truly is, because nothing else does affect absolutely every single system. And also, sleep is the one thing that you can't cheat. You can't, you can't fake sleep.
Right.
You can't find a quick fix cheat for
You
it.
can't just lay there with your eyes closed
No,
while your
no.
mind is racing, and you can rest your body, rest your muscles, I guess. I mean, it's not without any merit, but it certainly is not going to give you the things that you need from sleep.
Right. To really optimize, you have to allow your body to go through the cycles of the circadian rhythm, as I'm sure you know, to get all the different levels of sleep, because it is things like deep sleep or REM sleep that really truly start to affect some of the factors I suggested earlier, like consolidation of memories and stabilization of mood. So, these are the reasons we call ourselves a sleep performance company, to tell you the truth, Joe, because we want people to focus on the fact that sleep is foundational, not only for long-term health, but also your health the next day. How
Oh, yeah.
we're talking about tomorrow, next week, and the next decade of your lives are impacted by the way you sleep every single night.
And I think that I'd like to get into kind of the fundamentals before we get into like your protocols, because it's important for people to understand really what's at stake here. You talk about the different levels of sleep, and some people they sleep, but they wake up every 10 minutes, or everything wakes them up, or they sleep with one eye open. They're like, sort of asleep, or they're asleep, but never really, like, I know lots of people say I don't dream, and I'm like, well, you probably do, you don't remember it, but there's all these different sort of categories of sleepers, and the reality is, like, you need to go through all of these levels. I always think that, like, when you're going into sleep, there's that, I don't know the terminology of everything. Like I said, my brain's a little scrambled, but just as you're falling asleep, there's that really um, sublime, blissful state that you just sort of float away in, and you want to stay there like forever. It's
Yep.
like a meditative state, and then you drift off and you go into wherever. Why don't you explain the levels of sleep and maybe their importance a little bit?
Well, there's four levels, and basically, I think two. And we always say we are not sleep doctors, and you probably have had sleep doctors on your show. So
Yeah.
I don't want to parade as a doctor, but we all know that there are four levels, and two are lighter levels of sleep, and two are deeper sleep. And really, as you're beginning to let me start at the morning. When you wake up in the morning, your level of a hormone called cortisol increases. And that's really what gets you kind of excited and stimulated to address everything that happens during the waking hours, during the day. What's happening, especially in our society now, is rather than at night, automatically, especially when it begins to get dark outside, evolutionarily, that is when that was the signal for the body to wind
Right.
down and go to sleep.
Sun goes down, we go to sleep. Yeah.
That's right. Well, now with this fast-paced society, our cortisol just continues to rage even as it gets dark. So we have to really focus more on stimulating melatonin or this parasympathetic kind of state to get the melatonin part of the cycle started. So if you can get rid of all of the raging thoughts through your mind, and really begin to calm your body into, like you said, the meditative state that really does induce sleep, your body will naturally begin to produce melatonin. Don't have to take a supplement necessarily, and
Right.
it's probably when if you have to, you have to, but it's probably not something you want to do over time. In fact, there's new research that shows that habitual melatonin supplementation.
Yeah, you burn yourself out when you start taking a supplement that takes the place of a naturally induced or created hormone or enzyme or substance. Your body is like, oh, I guess I don't have to make that anymore because it's always here.
Exactly.
I always tell people, that supplements can be great for a purpose, for a reason or a season, but certainly not a lifetime.
We agree. We totally agree. So I guess my point is that to get into the first part of sleep, if you do have if you're prone to high cortisol lifestyle, like Jill and I both were, if you're sort of addicted to that race of the day, then you really do need to do some things consistently to calm your body down so that you can get into a light stage of sleep. And there are a lot of ways that you can do that.
Hi, this is Joe Grumbine, and I wanted to share an update. The platform that hosts this podcast has made some changes to the subscriber settings, and we have a number of subscriber-only episodes that we offer to the supporters, and for a minimum of $3 a month, we can get you signed up. And if you're already signed up and you're having some kind of trouble locating these episodes in the other platforms, I would say maybe the best answer is to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. I'm sorry for the hassle. I don't have any way to make a change, but I'm very grateful for all the support. Thank you.
So your company Why don't you tell us a little bit about it and how it works? I'm sort of visualizing a lot of different possible models, but I don't have any idea really how it works. So if I'm curious, I'm sure all the listeners are as well. So somebody comes to you, what do they knock on a door? Do they come to a website? How do they find you, and what do they, how does it work?
We built a website. It's inactivecode.com. And that is how most consumers reach us. We had a lot. So we started by developing a product that we thought would be science-backed. It would address kind of the most important factors that you need to help you get more sleep. The first being complete darkness, which is what your body and brain need to signal this beginning of the melatonin production. And
that's
also
pretty difficult for a lot of people. I mean, you know, there's all these habits we have, and most of them involve lights, and a lot of them involve blue light, which is apparently not real good. And, blackout curtains aren't something that, you see in a lot of homes. So how does somebody come about, a dark place?
Well, so enter the sleep mask, which sounds so simple. It is a 100-year-old product, right? And that is where we started. I mean, and what was interesting about it, it wasn't too dissimilar from what the founder of Spanx, Sarah Blakely, did with the girdle, an old dopey product that she reinvented. So we decided we would take the sleep mask and we would innovate it, given everything we know in product development, textiles, innovation, et cetera, and address the problems. Number one, allowing any wearer to achieve 100% darkness, no matter the shape of their head, the size and shape of their features, giving them an ergonomic, easily accessible solution to achieve that critical, complete darkness, no matter where they work, whether they home, travel, wherever, hospital.
Generally not super expensive. They're not technologically bound, so you're not going to have to worry about batteries and rebooting the darn thing or whatever. It's just a mechanical device that helps you get dark.
And guess what? It works.
Yeah.
And we tested it initially. We thought, who's our best audience to really adopt this as an actual piece of performance equipment, if you will. And so we went to professional and college athletes to start, and we tested with them and got their feedback. And then we went to Emory University in Atlanta, has an association with the Wounded Warriors Veterans Program.
Oh, nice.
And we participated in an IRB research study with them, and had reactions and input from military veterans around, does this really help you? And, what we did was we molded our mask slightly. We have soft foam, so it's not a stiff mask. So it's not a flimsy mask that just doesn't provide any darkness. So it's a molded foam, and we actually curved the eye pockets and made them concave so that you can open and close your eyes underneath.
All right.
Does a lot of things. For military veterans, what we found out is, especially those that suffer from PTSD, they were more likely to adopt a sleep mask if they could kind of find themselves in time and space, even if their eyes are covered. So if they can open and close their eyes. And then, of course, you have a lot of people with long eyelashes or lots of beauty-related reasons to have.
Right.
But so we just built a mask that could address those factors. So it simply was a tool that not only functionally could fit to achieve this complete darkness, it also addressed the second most important factor, which was temperature regulation. We added a very thin layer of internal temperature regulation material that's used at NASA and a lot of high-end sports equipment that kind of helps to keep your face temperature slightly regulated or cooler as you go through your circadian rhythm and it begins to rise and get hotter. This can help keep you cooler. It also helps the problem that we heard from our testers, and that was they're so hot when they sleep, So this mask keeps you nice and cool. And so, it was, and then on a physical level, kind of like Pavlov's dog, you
Sure.
begin to make an association psychologically with the mask and sleep.
Okay.
Your brain is saying, I'm putting on a mask. Not only can you not see to get on your phone or have another
Right.
light-emitting distraction,
Right.
just that association of mask on, sleep.
Time to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can,
Very
and it
good.
was, we charged $45 for it. So most people
Nice.
can afford it
Yeah. Yeah.
and take it with them
Awesome.
wherever they go.
So somebody goes and gets your mask, and I don't know, they're still struggling to sleep because of, I don't know, maybe they eat donuts before they go to sleep, or maybe they live in a place where there's a train that keeps going by, or, there's other factors that play beyond just the darkness.
Absolutely. So we're not trying to say the sleep mask is the silver bullet, the one solution. We think that it's kind of the centerpiece of a routine that really the wearer has to establish on their own. Sleep
Okay.
routines, sleep warm-ups, as we call them, sleep hygiene is very individualized. And so
Right.
just like you can customize the mask to your face, we encourage people to customize their routine to what works for them. Now, there are a few tips that work for everybody that everybody should be incorporating into their day, such as getting morning sunlight into your eyes as you wake up in the morning. You can actually
Right.
start setting yourself up for a great night's sleep first thing in the morning by getting
Nice.
natural sunlight in your eyes. In the evening, again, to light before you go to total darkness, with or without a sleep mask. You should start lowering the level of lights in your house. Even if you're watching TV at night to kind of calm down, turn your lamps off, your lights off, like
Right.
just begin to sit in a little bit darker environment, which will help just relax your body, begin to turn off your brain. And then obviously 30 minutes to an hour before you actually go to sleep, all devices should be off. There should be no blue light coming into your eyes, which will help you get a better night's sleep. Besides that, creating a sleep cave, a place where you're comfortable, your bed is really used only for sleeping and not for eating or wrestling with, your pets.
No brain rotting days, right?
Yes, yes. So just keeping that sacred space so that it is also an association with sleep. And then temperature, if your sleeping environment should be 67 degrees or even slightly cooler, 64 to 67. And that will help you sleep better as well. And then if it's a cup of tea or hot water, or if it's meditation, or if it's listening to a podcast that tells bedtime stories, other things people kind of find helpful, great. But consistency is important. Trying one thing at a time is helpful. And going to bed and waking up at the same times every day and every night is also helpful.
So do you have a resource for people, whether it's consulting or some sort of a book or video, or, like, you're going to run into all these different people with all these different sleep problems. And like you said, it's individual, just like cancer or any other injury, you got to find your way to your health. It's not like the same thing works for everybody. That maybe the same thing work for a lot of people, but there are groups of people and different resources, and there's a lot of tools in the box that could work.
We provide a Sleep 7 playbook for free on our website, which is our take on developing a sleep routine. It's based on cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which is the most effective process and tool for getting better sleep. It's based on also habit forming. So adopting a positive habit, we incorporated things like that. So what you'll see are 7 steps ranging from visualizing good sleep to affirmations, etc. So we've consolidated that into 7 easy steps. So I encourage listeners to go to our website, inactivecode.com, and check out the Sleep 7 playbook to begin with.
Fantastic. So is there anything else that you want to share about your company beyond sleep mask and the advice?
We're women owned. We are on a mission to solve problems that actually need solving. We think that sleep is critical, and we also come to organizations. We work with the NFL, for example, and the NFL Players Association, and we go to teams, or we'll go to the first responders, to firefighters, to police officers, and give sleep briefings that really kind of help coach people to a better sleep understanding and lifestyle. So we're available to do that. And please reach out to us through our website. We'd love to hear from anybody.
Fantastic. Well, Lori, we're running low on time, but I always like to give our guests a chance to sort of wrap their thoughts up. And is there sort of a parting shot that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think every life is important, but we, like you said, have to take control of our health best we can. And sleep is the one critical place where we can control our sleep. We were all born knowing how to sleep, and we can reteach ourselves to do so. So make sure you get those at least a minimum of 7 hours of sleep every single night.
Beautiful. And once again, how does somebody get a hold of you or find your company?
Please come to inactiveco.com and check us out, or email us at sleep@inactiveco.com.
Beautiful. Well, Lori, I always like to offer our guests, we had a great conversation. As things develop or anything changes and you'd like to come back and share some more information, I always leave that door open. I thought that this was very interesting and insightful, so I'd certainly like to keep that door open for you.
I appreciate that. Definitely would love to do that.
Beautiful. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I'm looking forward to checking your site out a little bit myself.
All right. Thanks so much, Joe. You take care.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and I want to thank all of our listeners for making the show possible, and we will see you next time. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.